Howdy, howdy, and welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. Today is actually Pickle Day, hence the pickle jar, because I'm sure everybody from time to time has had this issue where you just can't open the pickle jar because you're wanting some pickles and just can't get to them. Well, guess what? We're not talking about that at all, but we are going to talk about some things that can get you out of a pickle. See, there's always a way to tie in these photos to what we're covering, and it's going to be your measurement marketing audit. So we're going to cover this in just a moment. We're going to come back to this particular topic. My name, of course, Chris Mercer. I do go by Mercer, and I am the co-founder here at measurementmarketing.io, where you can find our content on such great platforms as Digital Marketer, Conversion Excel, Social Media Examiner, Seriously Simple Marketing, and others around the web, including a ton of podcasts. Too many to mention, but maybe one day I'll make a slide for those as well. One thing is all you were trying to get from these workshops. Remember, we cover a lot, and today will definitely be one of those workshops where we're going to just fly through a bunch of stuff. But your goal is to grab one new idea, one concept, one thing you can practice, no matter what your skill is, whether you're just coming into this, and this is the first measurement marketing related workshop you've ever watched, all the way up to you've got some experience and you're just kind of going back and making sure you've got the basics covered. Just grab one new idea, practice that, then come back, watch this again, grab another idea, practice that, build upon your skills. It will work wonders for you. All right, without further ado, getting started, the 10-minute measurement marketing audit. 10 minutes. That's it. That's all we're talking about here. And that is exactly what we're going to do. That's because this is going to be a very basic audit. It is geared to those of you who are literally just getting started in this. And it's going to be exactly what I do whenever I'm assigned a project and I've got to go through and figure out kind of what's working, what's not, where do I need to get started. This is what the audit is for. So we're going to go through this in a 10-minute window. Before we start the clock, I want to make sure that we're covering the 5 pillars of measurement marketing so that you have a context for how this whole thing comes together. The first step of measurement marketing is always the planning process. You must plan. You must build a plan. You must think through your plan. I guarantee you, your clients have not done that, so you need to do that for them. And that's going to require asking questions like, what questions do I want to know? What information am I going to need to answer those questions? What am I going to do with that information? How might that information be presented in order for me to do the thing that I need to do with that information? So all of that is around the planning process. Step number 2 is then the build. Then you actually set goals in GA or adjust Tag Manager or get things tracking from an e-commerce perspective. Once everything's being tracked and set up, then, after build is done, then you move into the report phase. That's where you're doing maybe spreadsheets, probably nowadays Data Studio with dashboards, which is just an amazing tool, and building your client dashboards. And after you've got all of the basics in place, you set your forecast, whether you're using existing sort of industry benchmarks or more usefully would be using your clients' benchmarks for all of their different current results so that you can say, hey, here's what's happened the last 30 days. Here's what we forecast will happen the next 30 days, assuming everything stays true. And then you send traffic and measure against that. That's where you will know where to optimize, because it will tell you very clearly where the market is still with you and where they have veered off to the left or to the right, and you need to go chase them and adjust your marketing. So that's how these all come together. Of course, planning and building is really the first steps to that and what this audit is really for. That's why the audit even exists as a tool for you. All right, you ready to get started? We're going to start the clock. We're going to get this done in 10 minutes or less. So our 10-minute measurement marketing audit. All right, here we go. We're going to go ahead and flip over first into Google Analytics. That is because that is the thing that, for the most part, every client that you ever work with will always have at least this. And so we're going to start here and go through the very basics. Now, if I'm coming in and my entire goal is, again, not to do any work per se. I'm not trying to fix anything right now. I'm just trying to get a lay of the land, right? I'm trying to see what's working, what's not, and write down my little hit list of areas that I need to come back to, specifically when I'm building out my planning process. So this is all kind of like research for that planning process when it comes to measurement marketing. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna go right to the admin screen. Now I'm coming into this because I wanna see how the account is currently set up and are they taking advantage of everything that could be taken advantage of. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to come over into your views. So you can see here, this particular example client, in this case, the Google Merchandise Store as a demo account here. I've got the master view, they have a test view, they have a raw data view that's all set up. That's awesome because I know that there is some level of sophistication. They have different views, they're using analytics for different purposes, and they're creating probably different goals for these views. That's great, that's a great sign. Most of your clients will have just all website data, which is the original view, and that's all they have. And if you see that, that's a huge opportunity for you because you know you're going to just knock their socks off with all the cool stuff that you're about to do. So that's the first thing. Now, as I come through, I will very quickly scroll through and take a look at big items like filters to see what filters might be put in place. And again, this is really just giving me an idea of what I know that I can give them. Like in this case, they're not combining their Facebook traffic, so I can certainly set that up. I don't see any lowercase filters to set up traffic and make sure that their traffic tracking, their naming conventions are being consistently there. I don't see any no parameters views, for example, that are removing parameters. So all of that stuff I'm sort of jotting down and going, yeah, this could be something I could do. I'm going to take a look at the goals, and I'm going to see what sort of goals are they using. So I see here they got smart goals, they have destination goals, they've got pages per screen goal, but I'm missing event goals, and event goals are super useful. So with Google Analytics, I'm like, okay, they're not really taking advantage of event goals. Maybe that's because there's a problem with getting events on the site. You know, that could be a tag manager thing I could work with. But this is all I'm doing. Again, I'm not going too deep down the rabbit hole. And use your level of expertise. If you don't realize that we're event goals yet, don't worry about it. Just you know what you know about goals. Go in here and see, are they taking advantage of everything that you know about goals? As your skills improve, so will your ability to do this 10-minute measurement marketing audit. Okay, so we're going to go through and take a look at that. Next thing, is e-commerce even turned on? Very important thing, especially if they are selling anything online. And I can see here it is. It's set up for enhanced e-commerce, and they've got some steps in place. So that's all well and good. And by and large, again, I'm not going to dive too much into all of the intricate details that might need to be set up, but I just want to take a look. I see, okay, there are some parameters that are being filtered out there. I see site search has been set up. So that's cool. That just, again, I'm just looking, not if it's working or anything like that, just level of sophistication. What things have they tried? What things could they try if they haven't set these things up? Okay, so with that, now I'm popping back out and I'm going to go into our property settings. And in particular, I'm going to go, or property column, I should say, but I'm looking at how the property's been set up. I am going to go into, first and foremost, referral exclusion list, because that is where cross-domain magic happens. So they should have at least their domain. But if there is just their domain, and I happen to know, for example, in our case, we go from measurementmarketing.io to infusionsoft.app, and then back to measurementmarketing.io when you hit the thank you page. So I know that's cross-domain. Well, if that's not in here, right? If I know that buyers go to PayPal, where they go to paypal.com and then come back, and that's not in here, okay, cool. So I know there probably is some traffic attribution issues because this hasn't been set up at all if I just see that one domain. And if I know for a fact there are already other domains. If I just saw this and I wasn't sure if there were other domains, I would still note it down because this is something important to come back to later. The next thing that I would take a look at is the products that are linked and making sure that whatever they are currently using, they are in fact linked into their Google Analytics. Most of the time, it's going to be these two, Google Ads and Search Console. Occasionally, you may see somebody else who has one of these, but most of the time, Google Ads and Search Console is really what they're going to be linking in through, and they should be linked so that data comes through. All right, again, big, massive stuff is all I'm really looking at here, so I'm not going to go too deep into any of these other specifics, but of course, I know that they're there, and I can come back later. What I'm going to do now is I want to see how things are reporting to see if it's giving me a useful truth. Very first thing I'm going to do is go into commerce, and let's go into product performance, because that is a report that regardless if it's standard e-commerce or regular enhanced e-commerce like this one is, you're going to have this where you have a product listing and what was sold. So the first thing I would want to do is obviously get a report from the cart system so I know if this is actually working or not. Is this giving, did they really sell $404 worth of stuff, or is it more or less or whatever? Then I'm going to come down and I'm going to do this. I'm going to say source medium. And what I'm checking for here is what traffic sources are actually attributing traffic to the sale. So I see here direct none, Google organic. I'm going to do a quick search or a quick sort. So I've got YouTube referral traffic coming through Yahoo organic. Again, all good. It's all fine here. I don't really care what the traffic sources are. I just care that there are traffic sources and that there are a variety of them. So I've got some support sites, some site stuff. Now, some of this I might say, hey, Google, is this more self-referred traffic? And maybe it is. So that's entirely possible. That we have that going on. But really what I'm looking for is a variety of traffic. Super, super important. So I've got partner traffic here, which is great. So I've got that coming through. I've got Googleplex traffic. It's not just one traffic source coming through. Because if it was just one traffic source, whether it was all direct none or all maybe Infusionsoft app /referral or whatever that traffic source was, if it was all just one, that probably means there is a cross-domain tracking problem and my traffic attribution would need to be adjusted. The other thing that this helps me get a really very high level on is how they're organizing their UTM structure, their traffic tagging structure, and where the traffic, generally speaking, it comes from, especially because I'm looking at buyers. I see Google CPC. I'm checking for naming convention rules, like is everything lowercase? There's some Facebook traffic coming through. And then, obviously direct none traffic, see if we can't nail down where some of that's coming from. But we did have this issue up here. In fact, oops, right. So I'll go a little bit fast for you, but here we go. Partners, right? Partners/affiliate, capital P. Like that would be a no-no. So I would want to fix something like that so that we have everything in place. The next thing that I would take a look at is all pages report. So I'm going to go into behavior, site content, and all pages. And this is just to get a gander at how everything is already reporting. So here I would see opportunity to be able to show the host name. And that would be a filter that I would set up so I can get a better understanding of all the different subdomains that are coming through and all of that. So I'm not making any assumptions that just because it says /home that I'm thinking googlemerchandisestore.com/home. Maybe there's other subdomains involved. And I want to see the host name. I'm also looking at overall numbers. Again, not to judge them, to make any marketing decisions based on them, but just to see if they make sense. So does my bounce rate at 40%? Cool, that kind of makes sense. If it said 2%, I probably would immediately think there's an implementation issue. So there's a lot that you can get from your Google Analytics going through and just sort of figuring out that part. Finally, I would go into acquisition and then all traffic and source medium, my favorite report ever in Google Analytics. And I would jump through and say, okay, here's my source medium. I already know that stuff is there. I would want to take a look at campaigns just to see how they're doing. Actually, I'm going to come back to a different report for that. I want to say content to see how deeply they actually are using UTMs, if at all. And I see a bunch of not set, so there's some opportunity there. I'll see a bunch of capital stuff, so there's opportunity to make that lowercase. And I come through here and I can see all the different goals that are coming through and how these traffic sources might report differently for each of these different goals that are set up. So I can see if they're even operating correctly. So I can, again, very high level, but I can see that stuff there. Finally, I would take a look at campaign traffic. This is something that almost everybody messes up. But I would come to the campaigns and see if they're very, very splintered. In this case, not too bad here, right? So they've got some AdWords, YouTube, apparel, kind of overall campaign stuff, which is good, nicely organized. There's only 10 here. There's not 4,000, which is what most people have. So that's really good. It means that they're really organized under their campaign traffic as well. And that's really it when it comes to Google Analytics. Now, Tag Manager, much faster audit. I'm really just looking at level of sophistication. So in this case, if this is not, but if this was their Tag Manager, I would come in and say, okay, they've got some basic stuff. They're trying some advanced stuff, and it's all pretty recent. So Tag Manager is a fairly new thing to them, as opposed to something like this particular container, where if I came in here and I would say, okay, well, this 9 months ago, right? So I would kind of sort by date. There's a lot more back here, right? But I can see, okay, 9 months ago. So it's been around for a little while. I see Facebook pixels, Google Analytics pixels. They're doing a bunch of stuff, right? There's scripts in here. There's cookies going on. There's data layer pushes with these little DLPs. So I know there's a bunch going on. I think that's awesome. This would be a much more sophisticated Tag Manager. I'd need to go slower through it versus that first one, which is real kind of basic and is a world of opportunity for me as a measurement marketer because I would be able to, again, just really knock their socks off. And then finally, as we wrap up in our final minute of our 10-minute measurement marketing audit, I would look at the current reports and I would just have, and again, I don't really have any great examples of reports, but I have examples of horrible reports, which is what most of them are going to look like. All you're doing is looking at their existing report. Again, this is just a sample for a marketing website, very generic. And I would ask myself, what am I able to do with this? Does this report provide answers to my client, to myself, to my department, to my stakeholder? If it doesn't, it can be dramatically improved. And then I would ask, how can I improve this? How can I have this report actually provide answers? And that's, again, for any existing reports that they already use, whether it's in a spreadsheet, Data Studio, doesn't matter. And remember, just because it's an existing report doesn't mean that you're going to just duplicate that. You can totally change this thing. It's your job to help them get usefulness out of this report. Chances are they're not using the report because it gives them information and they get overwhelmed instead of answers, which gives them action. And that's really what you want to focus on. So it's those three main things as we finalize this. It's analytics, trying to see what's in place and traffic sources and e-commerce and are things working generally, and are there big, giant, major things you can adjust. It's Tag Manager, really the level of sophistication that's there, and are they taking advantage of all the fun little tricks that you can do. You can also take a look at the variables, little pro tip to see how many variables that they have created. If there's a bunch, you know they're pretty sophisticated, and that's good for you because you've got some room to work with. And then you've got dashboards and reporting, whether it's a spreadsheet or something else, and there might not be a report, or there are reports, but they're just not using them, and then you figure out, okay, why? What are they not doing? Chances are they're not providing any sort of answer for them. And that's it. Look at that, 10 minutes, and we got a measurement marketing audit. Now, obviously, that was very quick, but that's the point. These audits are not for you to spend 17 hours going through and getting down rabbit holes and writing all the stuff down. It's getting an overview. Once you have the overview and you got your general sort of directional stuff written down of what needs to be investigated, then you can go back in, spend some more time, actually go through a full audit and build out a measurement marketing plan, right? That's where a lot of that work occurs. And you start to say, okay, first step, I noticed there was no filters. We're going to go back and set up views, and we're going to do filters. I'm going to do no parameters view, and I'm going to do goals specific to this funnel and whatever else that you know that you need to do. That's where you spend the time, is on the planning process. This audit should be very quick because it's an overview. It's a cursory glance at seeing any giant major things. And there's a hierarchy to this process. That's why it is so fast. You go in there, you answer those specific questions, kind of look around, see what's in place. Then you dive down into the planning phase. And that's where, again, you just spend a bunch of time. But that planning phase makes the building phase go 1,000 times faster because you have a really good plan because you spent time there. All right. Hopefully you got at least one thing from that, some of the major items to take a look at an audit. And again, it's not an exhaustive list. There's always going to be a couple things here or there that might change. But generally speaking, I hope you got the idea. It is a hierarchy. It is a let's jump in, get an overview of the different tools that are in place, what might or may or may not be working properly, what's something that should be investigated during the planning phase. And then you jump into the planning phase. That's where the long-term stuff occurs. You definitely got to take some time with that, build out your plan. Then you actually do the build, reports, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Now, if you are looking for a better way to know your numbers, specifically building the plan, or maybe really diving into the build out of this whole thing and learning all the different tag manager stuff that's available to you, learning all the different types of Google Analytics goals and awareness goals and engagement goals and all of that sort of stuff that you would learn to look for, Measurement Marketing Academy, I highly recommend it. Measure.tips/start. It is a massive amount of support. You've got people that are right there for you, giving you answers within hours and not days. They're sitting there. They're there to help you. There's instructors on standby that are there. It's a lot of hand-holding support, including a office hours meeting that we do, a little group meeting with the members that want to attend. So that's every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. So, of course, if you're already an Academy member, thank you for being an Academy member. And we will chat with you at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday for Academy office hours. It is member-only Q&A. It is one of the best features of the Academy because it's like a little mini mastermind every week. It's amazing, the stuff that goes back there, and all sorts of skill sets. Some people are incredibly advanced, some are just getting started, and everybody in between. It's a fantastic feature, just one of the features of the Measurement Marketing Academy. So be sure to take a look at that. Again, measure.tips/academy. All right. Let's move forward. Next week's topic, beyond the basics. We're going to cover, now remember, each week we cover a different topic on Workshop Wednesday. Next week's is a more advanced topic. It's for those of you who have a little bit more experience or who are ready to level up. So we're going to cover in Google Tag Manager something called JavaScript variables, and in particular, the hows, so how you actually use them and then why you might want to use them. So you can got to get a little more versatility to your own Tag Manager skill set. So beyond the basics, next week's topic, JavaScript variables, the how and the why. All right. And of course, if you want notification for all of these, if you want access to every single one of these, some of these workshops we do make public and put them out there on the nets. Others, we keep them on the members area for the Workshop Wednesday members. But Workshop Wednesday is free, at least currently. So if you are interested in getting access to all of these workshops and want to be able to watch them, then measure.tips/WW will get you on that list. It is, of course, a free program to join Workshop Wednesday so that you have access to these workshops each and every week. And with that, we will bring it to a close. This has been Getting Started, the 10-minute measurement marketing audit. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.